I read the receipt. That's the part I can't take back. Everything else, the car at Pump 2, the man who asked for Finley Road, the sounds in the stockroom, the woman and the phone call, all of it, I handled. I followed the rules. I kept my mouth shut. I did exactly what Dale told me to do. But I read the receipt. And now my name is on the next one. Let me back up. 2 months ago, I started working the overnight shift at a gas station called Colter's Fill-Up, about 9 miles south of Mena, Arkansas, on State Highway 27. If you've driven through Polk County, you might have seen it. Cinder block building, flat roof, 2 pump islands, a parking lot that's more gravel than asphalt, pine trees on 3 sides so thick you can't see 20 feet into them after dark, 1 sodium vapor light on a pole that turns the whole lot the color of old teeth. It's not a franchise, no brand name, just Colter's in faded red letters on a sign that might be older than I am. They sell gas, cigarettes, cheap coffee, bait in the summer, and the kind of snacks that could survive a nuclear winter. Open 24 hours, 7 days a week, which sounds ambitious for a place that gets maybe 3 customers between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. Most nights, it gets fewer. I took the job because I needed one. Simple as that. I'd been working at a distribution warehouse in Fort Smith for 2 years before the company downsized my whole shift out of existence. 31 people, gone on a Thursday. I was already behind on rent, already 6 weeks into a breakup I was handling badly, and sleeping on my older brother Marcus's couch in Mena while I figured out what came next. Marcus saw the listing on a corkboard at the Polk County Library. Night clerk, Colter's Fill-Up. $14.50 an hour, which was $2 more than the day shift. Midnight to 6, Sunday through Thursday. No experience necessary. Nobody wants to sit in a gas station all night in the middle of nowhere, Marcus said. That's why they're paying extra. He was right. I called the number on the listing, and a man named Dale Purcell answered. He didn't ask me many questions. Had I ever operated a register? Could I lift 30-pound boxes? Did I have reliable transportation? When could I start? I started that Friday. Dale met me at the station at 11:30 p.m. for my first shift. He was early 60s, wiry, with the kind of deep tan that comes from decades, not vacations. He wore a gray Colter's polo that looked like it had been washed 500 times, and a pair of steel-toed boots so scuffed they'd gone from brown to the color of nothing. He had a calm way of moving, no wasted motion, and a voice that was flat and quiet, like he was always saving it for something more important than whatever he was saying right now. He showed me the register, the coffee machine, the circuit breaker, the mop closet, the security camera monitor behind the counter, 4 feeds, front lot, back lot, register, and stockroom. He showed me the logbook, which was just a spiral notebook where I was supposed to write down anything unusual. He showed me where the spare bulbs were for the lot light, where the first aid kit was, and where the phone was mounted on the wall behind the register. "Landline," he said. "Cell service comes and goes out here. If you need to call me, use the landline. My number's taped to the side." Then he reached into his shirt pocket and took out a folded index card. White, lined, written in blue ballpoint. He handed it to me. "These are the rules for the night shift," he said. I unfolded it. 6 rules, numbered, written in neat block letters. I read them. I looked up at him. Is this serious? Dale's expression didn't change. Follow them exactly as they're written. Some of these don't. Follow them exactly, Caleb. He said it the same way he'd said everything else. No emphasis, no drama. Just flat certainty, like he was telling me the sky was blue. I almost laughed. I didn't. Something in his eyes made me know it. Any questions about the register or the inventory? He asked. No. Good. I'll be back at 5:15. You can head out after I've checked the lot. He left. I heard his truck start. I watched its taillights disappear up Highway 27 until the trees swallowed them. I looked down at the index card. Here's what it said, word for word. 1. If a vehicle pulls up to the pumps but no one gets out for more than 10 minutes, do not go outside. Do not tap the window. Do not flash the lights. Wait until it leaves. 2. If someone comes inside and asks for directions to Finley Road, tell them it washed out in 2011. Do not give them an alternative route. 3. Between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m., the stockroom door must stay closed. If you hear stocking sounds from inside, that is normal. Do not open it. 4. If more than 3 customers are in the store at the same time after midnight, do not speak unless spoken to. Complete transactions only. No small talk. 5. If a woman comes in asking to use the phone because her child is missing, hand her the phone. Let her dial. Do not listen to the conversation. When she hangs up, she will thank you and leave. Do not ask about the child. 6. At 4:44 a.m., check the trash cans at both pump islands. If there is a receipt in either one that was not printed by our register, place it in the metal box under the counter. Do not read it. I set the card on the counter next to the register and poured myself a cup of the coffee I'd just made. It was bad. Gas station coffee at midnight in Polk County, Arkansas. There was no version of it that was going to be good. I told myself the rules were some kind of hazing. Small town thing. Old guy messing with the new hire. Maybe it was Dale's idea of fun. Maybe every new night clerk got the same card and had a good laugh about it the next morning. But Dale hadn't laughed. Dale hadn't smiled. Dale had looked at me the way you look at someone standing near the edge of something. I left the card on the counter. I drank my coffee. I watched the empty lot through the front windows and listened to the pines move in the dark. Nothing happened that first night. Not one customer between midnight and 6. The stockroom was silent. No vehicles at the pumps. No one asked about any road. At 4:44 a.m., I walked out to check the trash cans because I figured I might as well, and both of them were empty. Dale arrived at 5:15. He walked in, looked at the logbook where I'd written no activity, glanced at the stockroom door, glanced at the register, and nodded. Quiet one, he said. Is it usually? Sometimes. He paused. You read the rules? Yeah. Keep the card on you. The first week was like that. Quiet. Boring. I'd stock the cooler, sweep the floor, refill the coffee, and sit behind the counter reading whatever paperback I'd brought. A few customers trickled in around midnight, or 1 a.m. truckers getting gas, a couple of teenagers buying energy drinks on a weekend, a woman who bought 3 packs of menthols without making eye contact. Normal people. Normal transactions. I started to forget about the rules. That changed on night 9. It was a Tuesday, around 1:40 a.m. I was behind the counter flipping through a Tom Clancy novel Marcus had lent me, half paying attention to the security monitors. The lot was empty. Highway 27 was a dark ribbon going nowhere in both directions. The stockroom door was closed, as always. Then headlights appeared on the south camera. A vehicle pulled off the highway and rolled slowly into the lot. It came to a stop at Pump 2, the one closest to the tree line. It was a sedan. Dark color hard to tell under the sodium light. Maybe maroon, maybe brown. Dusty. Arkansas plates. But I couldn't read the number from the monitor. I waited for someone to get out. Nobody did. I watched the monitor for a minute, then 2. The car just sat there. Engine running, I could see a faint shimmer of exhaust from the tailpipe. Headlights still on, pointed at the pump island. I glanced at the index card. If a vehicle pulls up to the pumps, but no one gets out for more than 10 minutes, do not go outside. Do not tap the window. Do not flash the lights. Wait until it leaves. It had been maybe 3 minutes. I told myself it was someone checking their phone, looking at a map, finishing a call. People do that. You pull into a gas station. You sit for a minute. Normal. 5 minutes. I put the book down and watched the monitor more carefully. The car hadn't moved. The exhaust was still rising. The headlights hadn't changed. 7 minutes. I stood up, walked to the front window. I could see the car from there 40 feet away, sitting at pump 2 under the yellow light. From this angle, I could see the front seats through the windshield. Both front seats were empty. I blinked, looked again. The driver's seat was empty. The passenger seat was empty. The car was running with no one in the front. 8 minutes. I felt a dull pull in my chest. Not fear, not yet. More like the feeling you get when you see something that doesn't match what you know. A glitch. The kind of thing that makes your brain quietly say, wait. 9 minutes. I put my hand on the door. The push bar was cold. I was about to go out and check, maybe knock on the rear window, maybe look in the back seat, when I remembered the rule. Word for word. Do not go outside. Do not tap the window. I took my hand off the door. 10 minutes. The interior light came on. It was the dome light. The one that triggers when you open a door, except no door opened. It just came on by itself, like someone had flipped the switch. And in that muddy yellow glow, I could see the back seat clearly for the first time. There was someone sitting in the back seat, directly behind the driver's seat. It was a person, I think. The shape was right. Head, shoulders, torso. They were sitting upright, very still, facing forward. Their hands were in their lap. They weren't moving at all, not even the way a person moves when they breathe. And the driver's seat was still empty. The car had driven itself into the lot. Or the thing in the back seat had driven it here and then moved to the back without me seeing. Neither option made sense. I stood at the window. My breath fogged the glass. The figure in the back seat didn't turn its head, didn't acknowledge me, didn't move. The dome light went off. 30 seconds later, the car shifted into reverse. The backup lights came on. It pulled out of the pump island slowly, smoothly, turned onto Highway 27 heading north, and disappeared. I stood at the window for another full minute. Then I walked back to the counter, opened the logbook, and wrote, 1:52 a.m. vehicle at pump 2, approximately 23 minutes. No one exited. Figure in rear seat. Did not approach. Vehicle left northbound. My hand was steady when I wrote it. It started shaking afterward. Dale arrived at 5:15. He read the logbook. He read my entry twice. You didn't go outside? He asked. No. Didn't touch the door? I hesitated. I put my hand on it. I didn't push it. Dale looked at me. It was the longest he'd ever looked at me. Don't touch the door next time, he said. Not even close. What was in the car, Dale? He closed the logbook. Something that wanted you to come outside. That's not an answer. That's the only one I've got. He set the logbook back on the counter. You did fine. Go get some sleep. I drove home in the gray early light with the windows down, cold air on my face, trying to convince myself it was some kind of prank. Remote-controlled car. Mannequin in the back seat. Teenagers with too much time. I almost believed it. Then I remembered the dome light coming on by itself, the way the figure sat, perfectly still, perfectly centered, like it had been placed there, or like it had always been there, waiting for the right station, the right lot, the right clerk standing behind a window in the middle of the night. I didn't tell Marcus. I slept 4 hours, ate a sandwich, and went back to work. Night 14. A Thursday. I was cleaning the coffee station at 12:20 a.m. when the front door chimed. I turned around. A man walked in. He was maybe 50, medium height, wearing a tan canvas jacket and clean work boots, the kind that looked new, like they'd never touched mud. His hair was dark, combed neatly. His face was ordinary. If you saw him in a hardware store or a church lobby, you wouldn't think twice. He walked up to the counter and smiled, a normal smile, polite. "Evening," he said. "I'm trying to find Finley Road. Can you point me in the right direction?" The name hit me like a bell. Finley Road. Rule 2. I felt the index card in my back pocket. I didn't need to pull it out. If someone comes inside and asks for directions to Finley Road, tell them it washed out in 2011. Do not give them an alternative route. "Finley Road washed out," I said. "Back in 2011. It's not accessible anymore." The man tilted his head slightly, still smiling. "Is that right?" "Yes, sir. Sorry I can't help more." "No alternative way to get there? Back road, maybe?" "No, sir. It's just gone." He nodded slowly. He looked at the shelves behind me for a moment, not at anything specific, just at the wall, like he was reading something I couldn't see. Then he looked back at me. "All right. I appreciate your time." "Sure thing." He walked to the door, pushed it open, and stepped outside. The chime rang again. I watched him through the front window. He did not walk toward a vehicle. He walked across the lot, past the pumps, past the edge of the gravel, and directly into the tree line. Not toward the highway, into the trees, in a straight line, without slowing down, without looking back, without hesitation. He walked into the pines like he was walking into a hallway in his own house. The darkness took him in about 4 steps. I watched the tree line for 10 minutes. He didn't come back. There was no car in the lot. There hadn't been one when he walked in. I checked the security footage later. He appeared on the front camera walking from the south end of the lot, from the direction of the trees, and walked in through the front door. When he left, he walked back the same way, into the pines. I wrote it in the logbook. The next morning, Dale read it and nodded. "You told him it washed out?" "Yeah, exactly like the card says." "Good. Dale, does Finley Road actually exist?" He was quiet for a beat. Then, "It exists. The card says to tell people it washed out in 2011. "That's what the card says." "Did it wash out?" Dale put the logbook down. He looked at the stockroom door, then back at me. "Finley Road is a real road. It's about 6 miles east of here. Gravel, single lane, goes back into the national forest. It didn't wash out." "Then why do I tell people it did?" "Because the people who ask for it aren't going there to drive." He didn't explain what that meant. He picked up his keys and walked to the back office. The conversation was over. I looked up Finley Road that afternoon on Marcus's laptop. It showed up on the county maps, a thin gray line running east from Highway 27 into the Ouachita National Forest. Satellite view showed trees, nothing more. No houses, no structures, no destination. It just went into the forest and stopped. I zoomed in as far as I could. At the end of the road, where the gravel faded into forest floor, there was a small clearing. In the center of the clearing was what looked like a concrete pad. Flat, square, maybe 30 by 30 feet. Just a slab in the middle of the woods. No building on it. No foundation walls. No ruin. Just the pad. I closed the laptop and didn't look it up again. Night 19. The stockroom. It was 1:25 a.m. I was at the counter reading, trying not to think about Finley Road. The store was empty. The lot was empty. The highway was empty. Then I heard it. A soft sliding sound from behind the stockroom door, like a cardboard box being pushed across a concrete floor. I froze. Not dramatically, I just stopped turning my page and listened. Another slide, then a gentle thud, like something being set on a shelf. Then a pause. Then another slide. Between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m., the stockroom door must stay closed. If you hear stocking sounds from inside, that is normal. Do not open it. Normal. The rule said it was normal. Stocking sounds. That was the word. Like someone was stocking the shelves in there. But I had been in the stockroom 2 hours ago. It was empty except for what was already on the shelves, overstock of chips, jerky, motor oil, paper towels, a few cases of soda. Nothing that needed rearranging. No delivery had come. No one had entered the building. The sounds continued, methodical, unhurried. Slide, pause, thud. Slide, pause, thud. Like someone who had done this 1,000 times and was in no rush. I stared at the stockroom door. It was a plain wooden door with a brass knob. There was a thin gap of light at the bottom. The stockroom fluorescent was always left on. Through that gap, I saw a shadow pass. Something was moving in there, walking between the shelving units. Slowly. I gripped the counter and stayed still. The sounds went on for another 35 minutes, deliberate and even. Then they stopped. Silence. Complete. I didn't open the door. I didn't go near it. At 3:01 a.m., I got up and walked to the stockroom. I stood outside the door for a long time. Then I opened it. The fluorescent light hummed overhead. The shelves were fully stocked. That's the part that didn't make sense. They were more stocked than before. A full case of AA batteries that hadn't been there at 11 p.m. 2 boxes of off-brand granola bars, sealed, with price stickers already on them. A bag of road salt. 3 containers of windshield washer fluid that I had not ordered, that were not on any invoice, that were not in the delivery system. I picked up one of the granola bar boxes, scanned it at the register. It beeped, showed up in the system. Correct price. Correct SKU. Like it had always been in our inventory. I checked the back door of the stockroom, locked, dead-bolted from the inside, the way it always was. The security camera for the stockroom showed the shelves from a high angle. I rewound the footage. Between 1:24 a.m. and 2:01 a.m., the camera showed nothing. Not static, not blackout, just the stockroom as it was. Empty shelves in the same spots that were now full. No one entered. No one moved. But at 2:01, the footage resumed, and the shelves were stocked. Like someone had spliced the tape, except it was a digital feed, and there was no gap in the timestamp. The new products were there. They'd appeared. I wrote it in the logbook. Dale read it the next morning. He walked into the stockroom, looked at the shelves, and came back out. "The batteries sell well," he said. "Put them on the end cap near the register." "Dale, where did they come from?" "They came from the stockroom. They weren't there at 11. They were there by 3. That's what matters." He looked at me evenly. "Did you open the door before 3? "No." "All right then. What happens if I open it before 3? Dale put on his jacket. "Somebody opened it before 3, about 4 years ago. Employee named Curtis Webb." "What happened?" "Curtis doesn't work here anymore." "Where is he?" "I don't know. Nobody does." Dale picked up his keys. "Keep the door closed, Caleb. That's all there is to it." I want to be clear about something. At this point, I was not brave. I was not investigating. I was not the kind of person who goes looking for answers in a horror story. I was a guy making $14.50 an hour who was increasingly aware that his workplace had something wrong with it, and who did not have another job lined up. Marcus was already making comments about how long I'd been on his couch. My savings were gone. I needed the paycheck, so I kept showing up. I followed the rules. I wrote things in the logbook. I drank bad coffee at 3 a.m. and watched the empty lot and told myself that if I just did what the card said, I'd be fine. Night 23 is when Rule 4 triggered. It was 12:38 a.m., a Sunday. I'd just finished mopping the floor near the coolers when the front door chimed. A man walked in, tall, thin, wearing a dark green work shirt with no logo. He nodded at me, not exactly friendly, just acknowledging, and walked to the snack aisle. He picked up a bag of peanuts and a bottle of water. 12 seconds later, the door chimed again. A woman. Short, heavy-set, wearing a brown cardigan and sneakers. She didn't look at me. She went to the cooler and pulled out a can of sweet tea. The door chimed again. A younger guy, maybe early 20s, in a gray hoodie and jeans. He walked to the counter, grabbed a pack of gum from the rack, and stood there holding it, waiting. That was 3. Then the door opened one more time. An older man, 70s maybe, white hair, clean shave, plaid shirt buttoned to the collar. He walked past me to the back of the store and picked up a bag of beef jerky. 4 customers. In the store. At 12:40 a.m. On a Sunday. At a gas station that rarely sees 4 customers in an entire night. If more than 3 customers are in the store at the same time after midnight, do not speak unless spoken to. Complete transactions only. No small talk. I closed my mouth. I'd been about to say something. Busy night or y'all need anything? The kind of thing you say automatically when people come in. But the rule was specific. Do not speak unless spoken to. I stood behind the register and waited. The man in the green shirt came up first, set the peanuts and water on the counter. I scanned them. $3.47. He placed exact change on the counter. 3 ones, a quarter, 2 dimes, 2 pennies, exact. Without looking at the total on the screen. He picked up his items and walked out. The door chimed. The woman came next. Sweet tea, $1.89. She put exact change on the counter. Not close, not rounded exact. $1.75, a dime, 4 pennies. She left. The young guy. Pack of gum. $1.19. Exact change again. All coins. He set them on the counter in a small stack, picked up the gum, and walked out without a word. The old man was last. Beef jerky. $5.49. He placed a $5 bill and 49 cents on the counter. Looked at me for a moment. His eyes were brown and flat, like river stones. "Thank you," he said. "You're welcome," I replied, because he'd spoken first. He nodded and left. I watched them through the window. All 4 of them walked across the lot in different directions. The man in green walked north along the highway shoulder. The woman walked south. The young guy crossed the highway and disappeared into the trees on the east side. The old man walked west, behind the station, into the pines. None of them had arrived in a vehicle. I checked the cameras. All 4 had walked in from different directions, out of the dark, within 90 seconds of each other. 4 people, arriving on foot from the forest at 12:40 a.m., buying 1 item each with exact change, and leaving on foot into the dark. I didn't write anything in the logbook that night. I sat behind the counter with the lights on and the rule card in my hand, and I waited for dawn. When Dale came in, I told him. He listened. He nodded. "They pay with exact change," I said. "Every one of them. How is that possible?" "It's always exact," Dale said. "Every time." "Who are they?" Dale set down his keys. "They're customers, Caleb. They walked out of the woods. They came in. They paid, they left. That's all you need to worry about." He paused. "You didn't talk to them?" "Only the old one. He said thank you, so I said you're welcome." "That's fine. Don't initiate. If they say something, you can answer. But keep it short." "What happens if I initiate?" Dale looked at me for a long time. "They start coming in more often. They start staying longer. and eventually they stopped leaving. I didn't ask anything else that morning. Night 31. Rule 5. This is the one I have the most trouble talking about. It was 2:15 a.m. I was behind the counter watching the security monitors, half asleep. The stockroom sounds had come and gone. I'd gotten used to them by now, the way you get used to a furnace clicking on. I didn't look at the door. I didn't listen too closely. I just waited for 3 o'clock and then checked the shelves afterward. There were always new items. I stopped questioning it. The front door opened. No chime. I noticed that first the chime didn't ring. The door just opened silently, as if the bell had decided not to function. A woman walked in. She was in her 40s, maybe a little older. Brown hair pulled back, no makeup, wearing a light blue blouse and khaki pants, like she'd been at a school function or an office. She looked, and this is the part that made it hard. She looked scared, genuinely scared. Not the way a monster looks when it's pretending. The way a person looks when they've been driving back roads for an hour in the dark, looking for someone they love. Her eyes were red. Her hands were shaking. "Please," she said, "I need to use your phone. My daughter, she wandered off from the campsite, and I can't, my cell doesn't work out here, and I need to call." If a woman comes in, asking to use the phone because her child is missing, hand her the phone. Let her dial. Do not listen to the conversation. When she hangs up, she will thank you and leave. Do not ask about the child. I reached under the counter and unhooked the landline receiver. I placed it on the counter in front of her. "Go ahead," I said. She picked it up. Her hands were trembling. She dialed a number. I heard the tones, but I turned away. I walked to the coffee station and started wiping it down. I didn't need to wipe it. It was already clean. But I needed something to do with my hands and something to focus on that wasn't her voice. She talked for about 3 minutes. I heard the murmur of it, the cadence, but I didn't listen to the words. I actively didn't listen. I hummed in my head. I read the nutrition label on a bag of pretzels. I did everything I could to not hear what she was saying. She hung up. I heard the receiver click. "Thank you," she said. "Thank you so much." I turned around. She was standing at the counter, composed now. The fear was gone. The shaking had stopped. She looked almost peaceful. "I hope you find her," I said. The moment it came out of my mouth, I knew I'd made a mistake. Not a rule-breaking one. The rule said, "Don't ask about the child." I hadn't asked. I just said I hoped she'd find her daughter. But the woman's expression changed. Not dramatically. Just a flicker. Like a screen refreshing. For 1 second, the emotion on her face didn't match her eyes, and then it all smoothed out again. "She's already where she needs to be," the woman said. She walked out. The door didn't chime on her way out either. I stood at the counter. My chest felt tight. Something about the way she'd said it, "She's already where she needs to be," sat in my stomach like a stone. I went to the phone. I picked up the receiver. I pressed redial. The phone rang once. Then I heard the other line pick up, and the phone on the wall, the same phone I was holding, rang. She had called this number. She had called the station's own phone. She had stood at the counter, dialed the number for Colter's fill-up, and had a 3-minute conversation with the very building she was standing inside. The ringing stopped. I put the phone down. I looked at the call log on the receiver display. The outgoing call. The station's own number. The duration, 3 minutes and 11 seconds. Who answered? What had she been saying for 3 minutes? I didn't write this one in the logbook. I couldn't figure out how to word it. I just sat behind the counter and stared at the phone until dawn. When Dale came in, I told him. He listened to the whole thing. Then he asked one question. "Did you ask about the child?" "No." I said I hoped she'd find her. Dale was quiet for a moment. That's close. Close to what? Close to engaging. Engaging with what, Dale? She was terrified. She was a mother looking for her kid. She was something using a phone she didn't need to use, calling a number she already knows, to have a conversation with something that picks up on a line that shouldn't ring. She's not a mother, Caleb. She's a step in a process. That was the most Dale had ever explained. He seemed to realize it too, because he went quiet, picked up the logbook, and walked to the back office. He came out with the logbook a few minutes later. He'd written the entry himself. 2:15 a.m. Rule 5 contact. Phone interaction. Standard. Clerk did not ask about the child. Close call on engagement. Noted. Close call. I was rattled after that one. I won't pretend I wasn't. The car at Pump 2 had been strange. The man asking for Finley Road had been eerie. The stockroom was unsettling. The exact change customers were uncanny. But the woman and the phone that felt personal. She had looked at me. She had spoken to me with real emotion in her voice. And then she'd called the building I was standing in and talked to something else for 3 minutes while I was right there. I thought about quitting. I almost did, but I kept coming back. Partly because of the money. Partly because, and I know this sounds wrong, I needed to understand what the 6th rule meant. The one about the receipt. The one at 4:44 a.m. Because in 5 weeks of night shifts, 4:44 a.m. had come and gone every single night, and the trash cans at the pump islands had always been empty. Until night 36,